We begin in Hiroshima, Japan, where the Group of Seven summit is underway right now. Expanded session started this afternoon, and South Korean President Yoon, who's invited to this meeting, engages in his summit diplomacy with several big powers. For more, we have our presidential office correspondent Kim Do-yeon live at the media center for G7. So, Do-yeon, is the session still on?
That's right, Jung-min. So the expanded group session has started earlier today, and President Yoon is taking part in those now. And that means that on top of this group of 7 leaders, the 8 invited guests will participate in talks of various topics. And so far, President Yoon has participated in the one with food security and global public health, where he says South Korea would play a more active role and in helping the world overcome hunger and the next pandemic. So President Yoon highlighted to other leaders that South Korea is the first country ever to transition from receiving aid to become a provider of ODA. And the top economic secretary said Yoon focused on agriculture and food security, pledging to double South Korea's contribution to food aid via the World Food Program to 100,000 tons a year. He also pledged to expand the K-Rice Belt project that was piloted in some 6 African countries as a means of increasing food security through transferring agricultural techniques. So for public health aspect, he promised to ensure that in a new pandemic, all nations worldwide get fair access to the vaccines they need. As for the pandemic response, that was Yoon's pledge. But later today, Yoon will be taking part in a session on climate change, but the message seems to be in line with the first session. South Korea will do more. Listen to what the top press secretary had to say about what Yoon will focus on for the climate change session.
President Yoon will reaffirm South Korea's commitment to actions on climate change and will share that there will be more actions done by South Korea for climate change, specifically by taking an active part in rule settings.
That's right, Do-yeon. So now let's zoom out and discuss what results the G7 summit has yielded so far. Notably, there was an address regarding economic coercion by China without mentioning the elephant in the room.
That's right. G7 leaders this afternoon released a statement on economic coercion, and it tackles one of the 2 main topics that the G7 really was about for this year. China. Now, of course, the other one being Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The initiative they released is called Coordination Platform on Economic Coercion. And with an increasingly aggressive stance by China has caused concerns for certain countries. Some of the participating leaders, however, don't want to take too much of a defensive stance on China. So cooperation over mutual interest was the key for the leaders here. That said, China was not mentioned in the statement, but it said, quote, "We are taking additional steps today to enhance our ongoing strategic coordination on economic resilience and economic security by reducing vulnerabilities and countering malign practices that exploit and reinforce them." They are also urged all nations to adhere to these principles of transparency, diversification, security, sustainability, and trustworthiness and reliability in building supply chain networks.
All right, Do-yeon. And tomorrow brings the G7 summit to an end. What's in line for the leaders and President Yoon?
That's right. Tomorrow will be the last day for the summit, and one key event will be the invited guests paying their respects at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park, as the G7 leaders did on Friday. Also, while the communiques really come out as the leaders wrap up the meetings, people are waiting to see whether there will be an extra statement that invited guests will also sign on to. So we'll see if President Yoon will be a part of that as well. Now, as President Yoon heads home on Sunday, he'll go straight. His diplomatic activities doesn't end here. He'll be having a summit with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz directly after landing in Seoul, and another summit with the European Union on Monday. So busy days still ahead for President Yoon. And back to you, Jung-min.
Busy day, all right. That was our Kim Do-yeon live in Japan. Thank you.